Welcome to Minneapolis Sound Radio's Artist of the Month podcast. Today, my guest is a powerhouse singer whose voice has traveled the world, around the world in a day, get it?
Got it.
And, and back, from chart-topping solo hits to standing alongside the one and only Prince as a member of the new power generation. Elisa Fiorillo is July's Artist of the Month, and she is here with us now. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm an artist of the
Congratulations.
month. Yay.
All
No,
right,
thank
let's
you so
get
much.
into your early years. Now, I was reading your bio. Your parents are, were,
Were
correct me if I'm wrong, were musicians. How did that
Mhm.
affect you growing up?
Well, my dad was a classical pianist. He studied with Vladimir Horowitz, who was like
Mm,
one of the top pianists in the world. So he
yes.
had a huge, in the classical world, like an icon kind of mentor him.
Mhm.
He actually never taught any students until he started to teach my father. And after that, he only taught four other people in his lifetime. So my dad
Wow.
was one of five students. So it's kind of crazy how our lives kind of paralleled and how he had this master like teacher, just like I did with Prince. Um, so yeah, my dad played piano and I used to just listen to him play and I used to dance around and do ballet and I actually would lay under his piano to kind of feel the music. And I think that was probably one of my fondest memories with my dad, is just hearing the passion come through him into his fingers and to make the piano sing.
Yes.
And my mother was a singer too. She had to yell about that every now and then, say I get credit too.
Ah,
And my dad's mother was a singer. So she used to come and visit us from Florida and she would bring her little cassette recorder and we would sit in the living room and we would sing songs and she'd teach me how to harmonize. And so I just grew up with music in the house. So that's kind of, it rubbed off on me. So
do you remember the first song that you ever listened to?
the first song I ever listened to, it was probably Tammy's in love. Debbie Reynolds. And
Wow.
I loved the B-side, which was oh my gosh, what was it called? Oh, this is gonna bother me now. I'll remember it as we're doing this interview. I'll sing it later, but it was the B-side that caught my attention. Oh, all day long in my sloppy jeans, I just romp like a pup. But at night I put my French heels on. I pretend I'm 21. And it's such a cute tune.
Just sing.
And
Oh,
I would take my mom's heels and I'd walk around the house with my heels singing French heels. And so that was my first record. That hooked me, Debbie Reynolds.
that's when you knew you wanted to sing.
Yes, I was like, okay, I'm in. And then the records just kind of started flowing. My dad and mom would buy me records and my brothers listened to like all the rock stuff. So I had the Beatles playing, the Doors, Foreigner, Toto, all
Mm.
that stuff. And then I found Diana Ross, and then I found Dreamgirls, and then I found, Jennifer Holliday, and I found Captain and Tennille, which I know was very pop, but she had a very soulful voice.
She did. I think
Very
she's still,
soulful.
yeah, Tony's
She's
still
still
there.
very soulful.
Yeah.
She's still singing.
Yes.
So I would sing "Love Will Keep Us Together," and I'd be shopping a little shopping cart in the living room.
Ah,
So yeah, I that's what I grew up. And then I had the crush on Sean Cassidy. What girl
oh
didn't?
my
And I
gosh.
had his poster in my room, and I wrote him fan mail, and he never wrote me back. And then one time I did a track date with David Cassidy. And I
Ooh.
and he was nice enough to ask me to sit in first class with him because I was in coach. And I'm like, sure, I'll sit up here. So we had this long conversation, and he probably was kind of floored that I said I didn't have a crush on him. I had a crush on his brother. And I told him how I'd written his brother and he never wrote me back. And I made a vow that if people write me fan mail, I'm going to write them back. And
Wow.
yeah, that was my crush, Sean Cassidy.
And Sean was a hottie. And
Yes, he
he
was.
and
Hardy
he
boy.
still looks good. He still looks good
I
though.
know.
He looks really good. Oh boy, my crush. Who was my crush? Oh
Who was
gosh.
your
I
crush?
had so many.
Yeah.
So many. First off, the two that are still my crushes today, and if I see them, that's it. I'm done. That would be Barry Gibb
Oh, okay.
and Jackie Jackson.
Okay.
Those
I
two.
I see where you're heading.
Those two. And
Okay.
then as I got older, it was Rick Springfield.
Oh, I worked with one of his producers, Jeff Silverman.
Yes, I saw that.
Yes. So I think I met him once through Jeff, but
Hmm.
he's a very nice man. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
he's still rocking and rolling. I'm not
still
mad at
rocking
it.
and rolling.
Keep it
Just
moving.
now.
Oh boy. Let's talk about Star Search.
Okay.
Okay, you were 15.
Hmm.
What do you remember most about that experience?
Well, I remember being angry because I had auditioned a year before and they
Mm,
waited a whole year to let us know that I actually was picked out of all these people. It was like 50,000 kids. They picked four people and I was one of them. So
wow.
my mom and I had driven all the way across country through the worst storms and it took us forever to get to California. We moved there. And
Hmm.
once we moved, we were living at my uncle's house in Orange County, which was more than 30 miles outside of LA. So I got there, we maybe 2 days in, and we get a call. Oh, Lisa got the call back for Star Search. They're gonna fly her into LA, set her up in a beautiful hotel, and you're gonna, whatever. So we said, oh, well, we're already here. Oh, well, where are you? Oh, Orange County. Oh, well, that's 30 miles. That's more than 30 miles out. So you'll just have to, commute. So we had to drive.
Mm.
Really, I didn't get the hotel. I didn't get the
Oh
flight.
my
We
gosh.
had we had driven all the way across country and went through all of that. And we could have just flown out and life would have been great. But it was nerve-wracking. I think I was losing my voice. I had laryngitis right
Hmm.
before the first performance, and my mom was like on my case, like, don't talk to anybody. People talk to you, just nod, don't answer. You save your voice, for your performance.
Right.
But and it was crazy that one of the girls that I competed against was a girl from New York, that I used to be managed by the same manager. And we
Mm.
both used to do this show in New York called The Early Show and The Early Show Gone Country. And it was a bunch of kids, professional children singing, doing these little, nightclub shows. And she would always beat me out on every audition because she was older than me and she had more experience than me and she was a great singer. And oh, I was so nervous. I was like, oh God, here we are on national TV. If I don't win this, she's gonna beat me again. And I beat her and I couldn't believe it. And she was very sweet about it. And she's probably felt like, well, yeah, I guess I beat you out of enough. So it's your turn now. So and then
Wow.
then I got a record deal right after that. I had all these people coming at me out of the woodwork, which makes me kind of laugh about the whole American Idol thing and how, as soon
Hmm.
as that happens, everybody just wants to know who you are.
Right.
And
How did
so,
you make a decision on the label, which label you wanted to go with?
so we didn't know what to do. My mother was kind of overwhelmed, with all the attention. And
Hmm.
we decided to call an entertainment lawyer that we knew from New York,
Right.
from this Broadway show that I had done when I was 15. And
Hmm.
one of the producers in the show, and she was a lawyer. So we thought, well, let's take it to her. Let's take the Star Search tape to her and let her shop a deal. And so
Right.
she did, and she went around all the labels and she found me a deal in a home at Chrysalis. And so I signed with them. And it was kind of like a development deal. So they wanted to see what I was all about, if I could write songs, if they could put me with different songwriters and try to figure out what direction I was going to go in. Because
Right.
I wanted to do Broadway. I wanted to do Streisand music. I was like, I want to be people, I want to do that, you know. And the record company pretty much took a look at me and said, "You're young, you have time for that. We'll do that record later in your career. You just need to do pop dance music." I'm like, okay, wasn't in my heart, didn't
Yeah.
really what I wanted to do, but I thought, well, I got a deal. I better do what they want me to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you were 15 when you won Star Search and the label started coming to you.
Mhm.
At a certain, like say for instance, now, what would you do differently if you knew than what you know now?
Oh, so many things. Being an adult is such a wonderful thing. Uh,
Uh,
I don't mind being older because I'm wiser now. I would
mhm.
definitely be doing a record that I wanted to do. I wouldn't sacrifice who I was just to be in that position.
Right.
I would say if, and honestly, I would say if it doesn't work for you, then I'm moving on. I'm gonna just do it myself. And nowadays people do it themselves. So it's kind of
Yeah,
crazy how much more freedom we have. It stinks that there's so much material out there and there's so many ways, social media just pouncing artist after artist after artist down your throat. And there's so many to listen to. But it's a blessing and kind of a curse because we don't have the big names anymore. Like
that
we
is
don't
true.
we don't have the big Madonna, just like Prince, Michael Jackson. Like there's so many. It's like the floodgates open and everybody's an artist and there's a lot to listen to.
I
So
can't remember any. I think Beyonce would probably be the only one that I
yeah,
now that I
right.
can think of that has that big name. I can't honestly think of anyone else.
I know. And I don't know if that's because I'm old and
I
I
was thinking that not for you, but for me, I was thinking the same thing because
yeah.
my taste, even though there are certain genres that I still listen to, my
Mhm.
sensibilities may have changed.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that's I guess a part of, as you say, being an adult.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with it, that's
A
for sure.
wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing.
As a young woman in the music industry, fame impacting your teenage years.
Mm,
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 I think you know where I'm going with this.
yeah.
Uh, what were some of the things that if someone were to ask you now to be their mentor at the age that you were then,
Mhm.
what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would give them?
That's a good one. So currently I am teaching, like I teach voice lessons to at Nevada School of the Arts, and I have a lot of young artists, young singers that come in. I would definitely say that because it's hard at 16 to really know who you are. It
Yeah.
just is. So I would definitely say that they work with someone that they feel comfortable with, number
Hmm.
one, to bring out who they are organically,
Right.
to not be led by money or fame, but for the love of the music. Um, to stay bonded with your family because that's so important. I know
Hmm.
that when I was in that position where I was kind of on my own at 17 and I wanted to be independent and I wanted to have my own apartment and I had the money to do it because I had the record deal and the whole thing. I think when it came time for me to go on the road and start promoting, I became very lonely. I
Mm,
missed my family dynamic. I knew my parents had been divorced. So that was kind of why I dove into my career even more because I wanted to kind of put that out of my mind and focus on something positive.
right.
The more that I traveled and the more that I lived on the road, the sadder I became. And I didn't care for being in the limelight, to be honest with you. I felt the record company had put a lot of pressure on me as a person to go and do the shows and then go backstage and don't communicate, don't talk to the audience, don't hang out with them. I know you're 18, but you're Elisa Fiorillo. and I didn't like that. I felt like, yeah, I'm just a person. And I was so like keen on proving that I was just a person. I'm just a person who likes to sing. And I need friends too. Like I really had no friends and I had nobody. And I remember one time my choreographer Marvin, I think we were in Cincinnati, and I had this hotel that I wanted a place with a kitchen because I missed cooking. So I was
Mhm.
I'm gonna throw some pasta down. I'm gonna cook because I wanted to feel like I was home, and I just felt so empty and so sad. And I ended up inviting some of the audience members over to the hotel when I cooked for them.
Wow.
That's probably crazy of me, but they were my age, and I wanted to communicate and be real with a person. I felt like I had to put on this persona, and I didn't really have a persona. I was just myself. And
Right.
so it was kind of an awkward time. And so I think I would tell a person, really don't forget who you are. Keep your family in your life, keep your, friends in your life, and work with people that you can really trust, which is hard to find. But
Yeah. That's great advice. And it also brings uh mention to the lack of social media that we had.
oh yeah,
Totally is a totally different beast. If
totally
you'd have
different
done
beat.
that now, you probably would have gone viral.
Yeah, I probably would have. Videos of me cooking for all my fans.
Yeah, right?
I'd be popular.
Oh my gosh, yes. But you know what? You're popular now. And
Yeah,
there's a difference between being popular and being well respected within your industry.
yeah, that's true.
Big difference. So
Big
there you
difference.
have it.
There I have it.
I remember my first memory of you listening to you was Who Found Who?
Okay.
Jelly Bean Benitez. And for
Yeah.
those who have been living under a rock, Jelly Bean Benitez was slash is the premier producer of a lot of classic dance tracks. He at the
Mhm.
time he was known for dating Madonna. This
Yep.
was
Sidewalk talk. Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
And how did you meet him?
Through the record company. So the development deal, them trying to experiment and figure out who I was and what
Right.
music I didn't know. I kept saying, "Can I do a Barber record?" No, you wait to do the Barber record. So they ended up having Jelly Bean on their label, and Jelly Bean was working on a record with Stephen Dante and Adele Vertai, and he needed a singer to sing one of the songs, and he asked for me to sing it, so I sang it. A guy named Paul Gervitz wrote it, and we still talk on Facebook today, which is great. But yeah, I actually did Who Found Who with Paul and his band in Vegas about
Okay.
2 years ago. He came out, and we did it like an acoustic version. It was so cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. You should
So
release that.
I know. I just should talk to Paul. Let's re-record it and just put it
Yeah.
out. It's so
An
cool.
acoustic version. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
That would be
But
dope.
yeah, I met Jelly Bean that way, and we did our first music video together, and I had never done a music video, so that was the first one. And he ended up taking it on the road, so we went to Japan and we performed
Mhm.
at the Budokan in Japan. We performed all over Europe. We did the Switzerland Montreux Festival that year. Um, and we were on Top of the Pops. We were on American Bandstand. So it was quite a quick little hit. And I remember coming on the radio, and I had to pull over because I couldn't believe that my voice was on the radio. And I'll never forget that day. It was pretty
And
amazing.
that's funny because that was going to be my next question. When did you hear your song on the radio and what was your reaction?
Power 106, LA on the 405. It was a sunny afternoon, and I hear a new single by Jelly Bean called Who Found Who? And then I was waiting. They never said my name. And I'm like, why did they not
Wow.
say it was me? Jelly Bean didn't sing it. And that happened all the time. Only sometimes would I catch them saying, featuring Elisa Fiorillo. And I was like, what am I, chopped liver? I sang the song. So
Ah,
anyway, but they learned eventually to say my name, but It was Jelly Bean's album, so I was just the featured singer. So,
Well, let's fast forward a little bit. I know personally that you have done so many things between working with Jelly Bean Benitez and then working with Prince.
mhm.
When you first met Prince, what was your first impression of him? What was your reaction?
The first impression. Well, I was at Paisley working with David Z, and we
Mm.
were working on my album. And it had been a couple of months that I was actually in Minnesota, and I'd never met him. And I had gone to the restroom, and I came back, and he was in the control room, and I
Oh,
was like, "Oh, that's Prince." That's how I was like, "Oh, that's Purple Rain. That's Darling Nikki." And so he kind of put the talk back button on and he said, so I was just gonna say, if is that you really singing in there? And I said, yes, that's my voice. He goes, I don't believe you. And I said, well, you want me to sing? He's like, sing this part right here. And so I did. And I was like, what is he talking about? He doesn't believe it's me. So I sang it and then he pushed the talk back button and he's like, okay, can you meet me in Studio B? I have something I want you to sing on. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just followed him and he was working on the Batman soundtrack and
okay.
he was doing a remix of Party Man. And
Hmm.
he wanted me, here I'm thinking he thought my voice was great and he wanted me to breathe. And so I was like, and they had just done some kind of dusting or something because the air was, you could see the particles just flying
Oh,
by. And he's having me go, so that's on the track somewhere.
right.
I think he sampled that and he used it
You
at other,
probably did.
yeah. And so I'm like, that's all you want me to do is breathe? Like I thought you liked my voice. So then he just kind of kept coming around and wanted to be more and more involved. And one day he put a tape, a cassette tape. I know, it's so crazy. We're dating ourselves.
Oh, I
He put a
love it.
cassette tape down and it had all these titles on it. And the only one I recognized was Darling Nikki, right?
Mhm.
And I said, these are your songs. And he's like, so you do know who I am. And I'm like, yeah, I know who you are, but I don't treat you any different than anybody else. Like, what do you want me to do? Go, oh, Prince. Like, I didn't know. And he kind of laughed and he loved that. Like he was just so happy that I wasn't a super fan. Uh,
Right.
and so from that point on, he just kept coming back around and coming back around and getting more and more involved. And so the record ended up being him producing half of it.
Hmm.
Um, and him telling me I needed to write more and that he's like, as an artist, it's very important for you to write songs. And so I want you to go home and write a lyric and come back tomorrow and we'll put some music to it. And so I went back to the hotel and I wrote On the Way Up because I was talking about school and how people were jealous in high school and like people were just not supportive until I moved to California. And then when I was on Star Search, everybody called me the Star Search girl and everybody wanted to be my friend. It was like
Right.
night and day. Like back in Philly, I had nobody liking me. And then back in California, I had everybody wanting to be my friend. So I was like, I don't know what to do. This is crazy. So I brought the lyric in and he had a red pen and he looked at it and he put an F on it. And I was like, what? It's good. And he's like, I'm just kidding. It's good. So then Levi came in, he put guitar on the track and
Levi Caesar.
Levi
Okay.
Teaser. And then David Z and Prince and we all collaborated and finished the song and started to record it. And that was the first single off I Am. So
Wow.
that was pretty awesome to write with him.
And then it kind of opened up the floodgates for you
Mhm.
to really collaborate with him more. I mean,
Yeah.
just reading, your bio and the things that you've done, he's
Mhm.
he's a big part of it, but he's not all of it. And that,
Right.
and I think people need to understand that
Yeah.
he was a certain block,
Mhm.
but you have done more and then some,
Yeah.
besides working with him. And then don't get me wrong, I adore, no pun intended, him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Um, and I noticed this with a lot of artists who are in the Minneapolis realm
Mhm.
that when being interviewed, and I mean, we're going to talk about him a little more because there are
Yeah,
a lot of collaborations that you've done, but it seems to be the only thing that people tend to talk about.
yeah, that's true.
And I wonder, just from your perspective, after a while, it's like, okay, what else? Do you not?
What are the things you're not
Yeah,
interested in me? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I get it. But it's kind of crazy because I mean I came and that's the funny thing is Prince knew where I came from too, because I told him how much I loved Broadway and Streisand and da 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 and Julie
Right.
Andrews. So he kind of made fun of me a couple times when we were doing vocals with like Liv and Shelby, because I would enunciate everything perfectly, like an English woman,
Ah,
He'd say, "Stop putting T's and D's and stop enunciating so well. You got to be a little more soulful. Like take the D and the T off, right?" So and they'd laugh, and it was kind of a joke, but but he also appreciated that I could read music because I studied piano with my dad and one of his students. So he loved that. Like he would even tell the other girls, "You need to play piano like Elisa because she can read." And so I could hear the notes and I knew exactly where the middle note was, which was always the hardest note. I always got
yes.
the high note, which is the easiest note to find. And the low note's hard, but the middle is the hardest. And I could always hear that because I read and I could tell what the chord was and where the third goes and all that. So he had a lot of respect for me, which was very cool. Which I I walk away from it. I have tapes of us recording our rehearsals and I still listen to them and just get all teary-eyed and because he was just so musical.
Don't tear up on me now.
No, I
Don't.
won't. I won't. I promise. But it was just, there was just music just coming out of his bones. I mean, when he played the piano, when he played the guitar, when he sang, it was like sitting in front of an alien who had all this talent. Like it,
Mm,
he was so otherworldly and his aura and just when you walked into the room, you could feel him in the room.
hmm.
I never felt that with anybody, ever. So he was just such a special person, such a special man.
Yeah, I said to a friend of mine actually the other day, to have been born during a time when he was here
Hmm.
is a blessing in
Yeah,
itself,
heck yeah.
because kids now, they don't understand
No,
genius of
right.
it. It's funny to me.
Yeah.
It's just funny to me.
It was mind blowing. It was,
Yeah.
I mean, like we would be in one room working on vocals and we could sense when he was coming.
Mm,
Yeah. And there were, and I know that other people will testify to this, but
mm,
we would be home in our homes in different cities, right? And I would go shopping at the grocery store and Raspberry Beret would come on the radio. And
mm,
it's like, we're gonna get a call. We're gonna get a call. We're gonna be going. I'm gonna be leaving tomorrow. I gotta figure out what to do with Olivia, my daughter. I gotta
mm.
get on the phone, start calling because I know I'm gonna get the call. And sure enough, I would get the call. Prince wants you there tomorrow. Like, I know. And then
Already?
Liv would be like, did you hear a song today? Because we're gonna get a call. Like
Wow.
it was like telepathy with him. It was just crazy. I swear to God,
That means that you all were so in tune with each
totally in tune.
other
Mm-hmm.
that you knew exactly when it was going to happen. That
Yep.
certain things are just not by coincidence.
No, not at all. No.
Now, I'm nosy.
Okay.
I want to know what a typical day in the studio would be. But first, before you tell me, out of the three, you live in Shelby,
Mhm.
where did you come in, or were you first when being
So
selected for the band?
so Shelby was first
Mhm.
and Liv was next,
Okay,
and then I was third. So
gotcha.
I basically got the call. Um, So it was crazy how this happened. So I had put a video up on YouTube when I
Hmm.
moved to Vegas because I was trying to get work here. And I did a gig, and one of the sound men was talking to somebody about how he had just done all the rewiring at Paisley Park. And I said, Paisley Park? I'm like, I know that place. I used to work there. He's like, oh, well, you should go to the Rio and say hi to Prince. I'm like, I'm not gonna go there and say, hi, remember me? Give me a job, So he's like, well, I'll mention that I saw you. I said, yeah, please tell him I said hi. So a couple weeks go by, and I'm working at my daughter's daycare,
Hmm.
flipping chicken nuggets, making French fries, like trying to keep alive because we were struggling.
Right.
And I took that job. I felt like Cinderella. I was mopping, I was doing everything.
Yeah.
And I get a call while I'm there, which I wasn't allowed to have a phone, so I had to sneak into the bathroom. And it was Prince calling me from my video because I put a fake number up for my
Hmm.
management company, but I didn't have a manager, but I was just like, I gotta look like I'm important because I did have a career. So Fidea Management was my Fiorillo and my new name when I was married to Michael, which was D, so it's Fidea. So he
Right.
calls me up and I'm like, hi. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, working at my daughter's daycare. How are you? I haven't talked to you in 20 years. He's like, well, I wanted to see if you're still singing. I said, yeah, I'm still singing. I'm trying to sing in Vegas. I'm trying to get work here. He's like, well,
Hmm.
I have something for you. I really want to work with you again. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, but just give me a couple months and then I'll call you back. I promise. And I'm like, okay. And I had filled him in that my mom had passed away and I just had a daughter and she's like 2 years old and I was married. And so it was a little strange to like throw all that at him, like not talking to him 20 years. But anyway, it's going forward. He didn't call for 3 months. And I thought maybe it was a prank call. But I'm like, no, that was him. That was definitely him. So I called back the assistant because I had the number of the assistant lady. And I said, can you please have Prince call me? Because I don't want to have hope for work if it's not going to happen. I
Right.
just want to know, I don't want to hold on to this. And that night, I went to a friend's house for a girl night and I was sleeping over her house and he called that night, like right away. And he said, what's going on? I said, well, I'm just having a really hard time and I really just want to sing and work. And he's like, well, the thing that I want to do with you, it's not ready yet, but is it about money? And I said, well, yeah, I need to make some money. He's like, you'll be okay. And I'm like, okay. He's like, just give me a couple more weeks. I'm like, okay. I said, well, thank you. You're an angel. I appreciate it. Let me know what you need me to do. I'll be there.
Right.
So I go to Florida with my dad. He took us on a vacation. We didn't have the money. So my dad paid for my husband and my daughter and I to go have this vacation. I'm on
Hmm.
vacation. I get a call. Prince wants you in LA Tuesday. And it was Sunday. And I
Oh.
was like, okay, Dad, we're leaving right on Monday. Like, I gotta go to LA. Prince needs me. So I drove my car out to LA. I went to Bel Air where he had his house and got out of the car, met the band, went downstairs to where we were rehearsed. And he walks in and it was like he hadn't aged at all. I was like all nervous, like it's been 20 years. Like, and he has like a little crow's feet. That's it. Nothing else. He looks the same. Oh, it's very frustrating. So so I walked up to him and he smiled and I smiled and we hugged each other and I said, oh my God, it's crazy to see you. So he wanted me to sing for Bria Valente, who was the singer he
Yes.
produced that he was kind of
Elixir. Yeah.
dating. Yep. So we were supposed to do Jay Leno. So we went to rehearse that. So he had me sing Shake Your Body for the band. He's like, check Elise out. So I sang Shake Your Body. And then he said, she has the same timbre as Michael. And I was like, wow, that's nice. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
And so I guess after that rehearsal, he pulled me aside and he said, so do you want to be in my band? And I said, well, I said, I have a 3-year-old. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'd love to. And he had asked me to be in his band back when I was 19. And I said, no. And
Oh,
I said, no,
Oh
I
my.
had a solo career, or so I thought. So
Ah.
I didn't want to give up my chrysalis deal to go on the road with him. So I said no. And I said to him, I know I said no to you before, but this time I'm saying yes, but we have to figure out my daughter. And he's like, don't worry about it. We will figure it out. We're a family band. We're going to do residencies. You can bring her with you. And so I was like, okay, I'm in. So then Bria didn't want to perform on Jay Leno. So we ended up going on. So I had to learn quickly 2 songs of his. And
Mhm.
then we went and did the Staples Center. So I went on stage and I did 2 songs of his. And then I walked off because I didn't know the rest of his songs. I didn't know one song. And he looked at me and he's like, why are you off stage? Why don't you go on and sing with the girls? I'm like, I don't know any of your music.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he laughed and he said, well, you have to learn it. And I'm like, I will. And so, and the guy that wrote in the paper actually said at first there were 3 background singers and then 2, and then she never came back
Oh my
in the
gosh.
paper. I'm like, oh,
Ah.
Jesus, how embarrassing. So anyway, but the first time I went to Minnesota, I went to rehearse and I didn't bring my daughter. And he came straight up to me and he said, where's Olivia? I'm like, she's home. Why didn't you bring her? Because I didn't know I could. I told you this is a family band. I'm like, I know, but I have to learn songs and I don't know how I can do that with a 3-year-old. Like, did you ever have a 3-year-old to like have to learn stuff at the same time
Yeah.
when I'm yelling mommy? But that
Yeah.
doesn't work. So then he's like, well, next time bring whoever you have to bring her. Just don't come back without her. And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
oh my God. And he was joking but serious. And so the next time I did, I brought her back and he had dinner for us. My nanny, who is a Prince fan, I had to sit her down and I said, do not
Oh
embarrass me.
wow.
Do not say a word. Edit button is on. Just make nice conversation and have your dinner and don't say anything. And she
Yeah.
was talking about what book she read. And he's like, oh, I read that book. And they're having this conversation. And I'm just like, oh Jesus, help me, Lord, please let this go. Okay. And then he's like, does Olivia sing? And I said, yeah. And he's like, what does she know? I said, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And he's like, okay. So we went in the studio. He played Twinkle, Twinkle, and she started singing it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was beautiful. And then she drew a picture of a house and she brought it to him after I rehearsed.
Mhm.
He told the guys that night, he said, I don't care what you have to do. I know it's 11 o'clock, but get this framed. I want it in my office in the morning. And so he
Oh.
framed it. And in his room at Paisley, in the office, there's a picture of my daughter standing by a tree. And I
Mhm.
think that framed picture is in there as well.
Oh.
And it was just, that was like, I don't need to be on the walls. The fact that he loved her and treated her
Yeah.
like that was just beautiful. So,
Yeah. And a lot of people, even today, don't get to hear about those type of
right,
stories. They
right.
talk about other things that
Yeah.
really have no place, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh, Tell me, I'm always curious to know the process of how the songs are created.
hmm
Okay, so for instance, a song from Welcome to America, Stand Up and Be Strong. What process was used? What did you all do in order to make that song come together?
Well, we really didn't hear it beforehand. It was basically we'd show up, he'd play it for us.
Mhm.
He had me go in to sing the verse. I sang the verse. And then on the other songs, it was kind of just very organic how it happened. Like he would stick us in there and he'd want us to be like an audience and like act like we're on the street and just say
Mhm.
whatever. Shelby just had all the greatest one-liners and we would laugh naturally. It would just
Ah,
it just was natural, organic, and he knew how to do that. And he always gave me the English speaking like newscaster, just the
mhm.
typical. So it was he really didn't let us in when it came to the music part. Like it was all done, and we went in for the vocals. But I
Okay.
know authentically they just sat down and I think it was just drums, bass, and keys or guitar, and
Mm.
they laid down the track live, and then he layers and puts all the stuff on top. And with the
Right.
vocals, the way he did vocals was just insane. Like the way he'd layer parts, and I'd be sitting there going, "How is this gonna work? Like we're we're not with the melody." And like it would blow my mind. And then when you'd hear the end thing, you're just like, "Wow, now I get it." Like it's just he was insane. Like he was not in a good way. Like just
Yeah.
like a conductor of production. He was just
Wow.
it was insane. That record is incredible.
I actually I have to revisit that album. I have to
Hmm.
revisit that album. What was your favorite tour?
Hmm. Wow.
You can name more than one.
I liked Welcome to Australia because
Mm,
I spent a lot of time in Australia with Savage Garden when I sang backgrounds for them. But
right.
I was so busy on that tour that I didn't get to really see the world, the country too much.
Mhm.
But I just love Australia. I have a soft spot for Australia,
Right.
Melbourne and Sydney, and I loved it all. I mean, Abu Dhabi was fun. Abu Dhabi was pretty incredible because I had never been, and
I That is one of my favorite live albums of all the live performances
okay,
that I've heard. Abu Dhabi is definitely top five for
wow,
me because that was a really good show.
oh yeah.
That was a great show.
And John Blackwell, I remember his dad passed away. Well, we were on
Yes.
stage and we had to go on and play Purple Rain, and all of us were in tears. And I remember that night we went back to Prince's room and we ordered eggs and pancakes and all this orange juice. And we stayed with John all night and watched the sun come up as
Oh,
a family. And it was just a beautiful moment. And every time July 4th comes and I think of John Blackwell and I think what other day could it have been but 4th of July for him to pass with all of his drumming and the way the fireworks go off. Like I always think of John on 4th of July. And he's such a good guy. What a good guy.
yeah, he was a brilliant musician.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep.
What was the most important lesson that you learned working with Prince through everything, good, bad, peaches, firecrackers? What was the most important lesson?
um to never say you can't do something because
Mm,
you can always do something. And he would put stuff in front of you that you'd never done before. Like, for instance, when he was editing Graffiti Bridge,
mm.
I was around a lot then, and he had something to do, and he put me in the editing room with the editor, and he said to me, he said, "You need to pick the shots and tell her what to use." And I was
Oh,
like, uh,
okay.
and the woman didn't look happy. She was like,
Yeah.
girl doing in here? And I was like, really? And he's like, no, no, I trust you. You have the eye. I'm like, okay, I guess I do. And I sat there after he closed the door. I said to the lady, you do what you do. I won't bother you. I'll just sit here and, no worries. I'm not trying to get in anybody's lane. So I sat there and I was watching, and she picked this shot and it was a good one. And then the next time she went and she went over a shot that was really good of him. And I thought, oh, no, no, she can't miss that shot. I go, hey, 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 hold on, go back like 2 frames. That shot, you've got to get that shot in there. And I was like editing. I was like, hey, he's right. I have the editing gene. So he constantly made people rise higher than they ever thought they could.
Mm,
Vocally, musically. He one time he tried to get us on roller skates on that crazy stage. And then we actually got roller skates and practiced and went around the arena. I was trying to get my roller skating back, thinking I'd hold my leg out front, doing the backward thing. And thank God he decided not to let us do it because I would have killed myself. But you know, he just to get us moving, he probably just wanted us to exercise, and that was his way of doing it. Uh,
Yeah.
but mostly that. And he also was so adamant about owning your own masters and, you know,
Mm,
being
right.
your own leader in your band. And I think I lead my band great now because of him and the way he practiced and rehearsed so long. I don't just go on stage without a rehearsed band, you know,
Yeah.
because there's something to playing with each other for hours and hours and hours and locking in. So I learned that. Um, and I learned that I by being around him, I told him this, that I didn't want to be a huge superstar like him. I told him
Mm,
that. I said, I don't like that you can't go to the movies without people going like, oh, look, it's Prince, you know, and
right.
I just didn't like that feeling. That's not my personality, it's not who I am. Um, so I thought, well, maybe this isn't for me, but I still love to sing, so, you know, I still sing. But I think what's endearing in my shows is that I am myself. And
Mm,
sometimes I put my foot in my mouth and I say funny things and I don't mean it. And then I'm like, oh, that was funny. I shouldn't have said that, you know. So I don't have I don't filter and I don't script myself when I go on stage. I just, whatever happens, happens. It's almost like I read off the audience and what, you know, and I think that he did that too, to an extent,
yeah.
you
Yeah, you
know?
can tell. You can, if
Yeah,
you really pay attention, you can tell that he was that type of person
yeah.
to kind of, as they say, read the room.
Right. You read the room.
Yeah.
He was a teacher.
Yeah. Let's go back to Graffiti Bridge for a minute. Love
hmm
Machine.
hmm The song that almost got me disowned from my grandparents.
Oh dear, do tell.
Oh dear. Well, the words in the song they didn't like because it talks about things that, you
Hmm.
know, a young girl shouldn't be talking about, according to my
Mm,
grandparents at the time. And when I recorded it, I didn't hear what Morris was saying. All I heard was what he gave me a paper and he said,
mhm.
say this here, sing this here, sing this here, and sing this. So I didn't know what I was answering.
Right.
So I'm too young. I didn't know why I was saying that. When he was asking me to have a menage a trois, I'm too young.
Oh,
Right. So like, yeah. So that's why grandparents said no. But yeah, I did get to meet Morris after I recorded it. And
mhm.
then I found out, not even maybe 5 years ago, that Jill Jones had originally recorded that. And
Yeah.
something happened where they had gotten in some kind of argument. And I guess because he was working with me and he liked my voice, he said, well, I'm going to put her on the song. And she had to lip sync to me, which would have,
I'm
I
sure that
probably
didn't make
would have
her
quit.
feel good.
I would have quit if I was Jill. That would have made me so mad.
Boy.
She's a bigger person than me. I would have been like, excuse me, you took my voice off. I'm out of here. I'm not singing to some other girl's voice.
Ah,
But she's cool about it. I didn't even know about it, so I was innocent in the whole thing. I had no clue. I just did what I was told, and there was my voice singing Love Machine. It was funny because Adrian Crutchfield, who played horns in the band when we did
right.
the horn section, we were in the hallway at the Country Inn and Suites, and we were going to play Uno in the lobby because we were all bored and we wanted to play a board game or something. And I started singing, and he goes, why does your voice sound so familiar? And I went, I don't know. He goes, did you sing on Love Machine? I said, yeah. And he goes, oh my God. He goes, my brother and I had the biggest crush on you because of your voice.
Ah,
I was like, yeah, that was me. And he's like, sing it. And I'm like, the love machine will turn your body out. And I did the whole thing, and he's like going nuts. And I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. So yeah, that was me.
boy. I'm going to name some songs. I want you to give me a one-word description.
Okay.
Daddy Pop.
lighthearted,
Okay. Future soul song.
deep,
Yeah, that is a deep song.
deep.
Yeah.
It's extraterrestrial deep.
Yeah. I feel like that whole album, the 2010 album,
Oh yeah.
on a whole different
Hmm.
plateau.
Yeah.
A lot of people
It was
didn't
a
get
very
it.
spiritual album.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree. Um, Walk, Don't Walk.
Um, one word. Horn. Because I was checking me now, just walking. It was like, I
Oh
mean,
God.
production, he had horns doing the music, if you listen to it.
I'm not surprised. I'm not
Yeah,
surprised.
it's like somebody honking their horn. So I thought of horn because that production was like, that's cool. Because it was walk across the street, lights, and then different horns, not even just one horn. It was
Right.
like every it was musical. So
Wow.
yeah.
Same page, different book.
Funky. I love that song. Same page. So much more than diamond. Oh God, we love singing that. We got
Yes.
to sing that too once. I think we did it in New York on
Oh,
stage. Yes, we did. I think we did.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. I have to find the recording of that.
Being a background singer as opposed to lead singer,
Mhm.
what do you prefer?
Mm, I love them both. It's
Mm,
crazy. I love singing lead, but there's a lot of pressure that goes with it because then you're the artist, you're responsible for ticket sales,
right.
there's a lot that goes with it. Background singing is so relaxing. And I love singing with others. I love creating harmonies with others. The blending, it's a magical thing that not a lot of people can do. And after years and years of working together, there's
Mhm.
just this thing that happens. And I keep saying, Shelby Liv and I need to do a show because we worked so many hours singing together that it's it's such a beautiful thing when the three voices come together and it's just magical. So
And please let me know when you do
when you do
that
that,
show together. I will
I
be
will
there.
talk to them. I will talk to them and I will say, girls, this is something he would probably want us to do. We actually thought of it. It was funny. We called ourselves Vortex. We were gonna because he was putting it in our heads we should have a girl band and da 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 da. And we were like, what would our name be? And we at rehearsals we were drawing little like symbols of what we would be. And Vortex was one of the ideas that we had.
I like that. I
So
like that. Vortex
Vortex coming to you soon, maybe.
live. Or wait, ELS, SLE. I don't know.
SME.
I'm thinking of stuff, but I like Vortex, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let's talk about your solo albums. The I Am album.
Mhm.
Um, Tell us a little bit about that. We're going to talk about more albums, but I'm just curious about the I Am album.
So that was started with David Z, who produced Fine Young Cannibals and Jody Watley and the Jets. So the record company kind of put me with him, thinking, oh, perfect, pop soul kind of R&B, perfect little match.
Hmm.
Um, and I had worked with a couple of different writers outside of Minnesota. One was a guy named Daryl Duncan that we wrote a song called Don't Change, which I thought was always such a great song. Um, there was a song, I think it was, I forget who wrote it, but it was a song about Nelson Mandela. It was
Okay.
Out of My Mind. It was just a beautiful song. I wanted to do that. There was a song called Purpose in Your Life that I wrote based on some of that fan mail that I actually read and responded to. Saved a girl's life and wrote in the letter, like, just because I sent you this, don't put all your eggs in my basket. Like, don't make me the reason why you're alive. That's not enough. You have to have a purpose in your life. So I came up with the lyric, and that's why that song came about. So we kind of had that to start with, and then I had a song called Saying No, about saying no to sex until you're married. Because
Hmm.
my mom and dad kind of put that in my head, even though I
Right.
didn't listen. I'm sorry, I
Who
didn't.
does? Who listens to their parents? I
Nobody
mean,
listens, yeah.
nobody
So those
listens.
are like that was where it was starting, and we were working on that. And then Prince came in, and then it was him contributing, making me write on the way up. And then
Mhm.
he gave me Love's No Fun, which was awesome, with Michael Bland played the drums, and then he gave me was that Love's No Fun, I said, or Ooh, This I Need. Both of those two, he brought them. Then he gives me Playgirl, and he tells me you're gonna rap. And I'm like, I don't rap. And then he's like, just use your British accent. There goes the British accent again.
He
So
had a thing about that
yeah,
British
like,
accent, didn't he?
habitats of the week. Da, da, da. And I was like, okay. So I did it. I did what I was told. Yeah, so that was how it all kind of came together.
The Deason Reese Project.
That was definitely a labor of love, even though I had a album called Labor of Love too. Uh,
Mhm.
so Jeff Silverman, who worked with Rick Springfield,
Right.
had a guitarist, a young guy named Tyler Reese, and my married name was Deese. And he's
Right.
like, isn't that funny? And I'm like, that's cool. Maybe we could do the Deese and Reese project. And he's like, that's a great title. So the father had paid for him to do all these demos of songs, and they were just instrumental. And Jeff came to me and he said, do you want to write with this kid? Because he's never written with a singer. Maybe you'll come up with some stuff. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'd love it. So he came to Vegas. We worked on some songs. I had some songs I had written that I had him just play guitar on. And I had wanted these out, but I had no means to make a record. I didn't have a deal. I didn't have money behind me. And
Right.
so the father actually paid for the whole sessions and all the recordings. And so I got to kind of express myself again, which was wonderful. So we put those out, and I played that record for Prince. And Prince actually called me from his car and he said, what is this song? And I knew what he was going to say. I knew he was talking about lollipop ice cream.
Mm.
And I said, it's a song about the struggle of losing weight, of all the pressure that I've been under since I ever had a deal to be skinny. And the frustration that I go through because I'm Italian and I love food. And it's like this constant, like, just
Mm.
chaos. And I said, I dreamt the song. I woke up and I dreamt pralines and cream just won't do. Cherry Jubilee may be a dream come true. Chocolate chip, cookie dough, rocky road, overload, strawberry mint chocolate chip. It all just like my mouth opened and my hand started writing. It was the weirdest thing. And he's like, I would have had a hit with this on the Parade album. And I said,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Yeah. I said,
Ah,
okay. He's like, this should be in a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of movie. And I'm like, okay, you got somebody at Disney
it
we
can
could.
happen.
And then he's like, send me some songs. I'm like, okay. So I did. I sent him all of the songs I had written. And he loved this one song called Staring Back at You, which was on my Undecided album, which was way before.
Mhm.
And he loved uh something about home. What is it called? Oh, I can't remember the name of the song. That's terrible. I'll remember. But it was another song, and he said, I want to pitch these." I'm like, Okay." He's like, "So you're okay if you keep the writer share and I'll take the publishing?" I'm like, "Sure." I said, "Whatever you want to do." I mean, nobody else is doing anything with them.
Right.
So I waited a couple weeks, and then I looked in my account, and there was money. I
Mm.
was like, "That's a lot of money." So I called up. I said, "Do you need me to sign something? Like, what is this?" And it wasn't him. I was talking to the assistant. She's like, no,
Right.
that's right. Like, I didn't sign anything. She goes, oh, we'll work on that. Never signed anything. So he
Wow.
basically just gave me money because he knew, I think he knew in the back of his head he was doing the third eyed girl thing, and he wasn't going to have work for me, and he felt bad that I had my daughter and I wasn't going to be working. So that was his way of saying, keep writing, keep doing it because it's worth something, you
So
know?
basically, in essence, he kind of puts you on his payroll,
Yeah,
but if you look at it that way.
right. Yeah.
Wow.
Very generous. Very generous.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's that's
Yeah.
nice.
And I'm sure he did that a lot for people. Went unnoticed because he didn't want anyone to know, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Let's talk about the Lost album.
Oh, yeah. So it got lost because A&M had me signed and I worked on that record. I actually did a whole different record and then we changed course and I went with a different producer,
Okay.
Rich Dudikoff and Peter Bonetta, uh,
Right.
who did the Smokey Robinson Just to See Her album. They won a Grammy for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked on this record. It was all done, and I had moved back to Philadelphia because I was in the midst of breaking up with a very psychotic relationship,
Oh
and I was
my.
scared for my life. So I went back to Philadelphia and thought I need to get away. So I was kind of out of sight, out of mind with the label. I wasn't in their face. I wasn't, and at the time, it was Sheryl Crow and it was all this alternative music on the radio. And our record was so pop that they
Mm.
didn't feel they could take it to radio and actually do anything with it. So it just got shelved and I got dropped.
I've always wondered about that. How do they figure out what's going to work? To me, it just seems like it seems like a crapshoot for
It is.
some. A
Mhm.
lot of them have good ears. A lot
Mhm.
of them, I will say. But then the others, they just say, oh, this isn't gonna work. They want to
Yeah.
stick to a formula. How do you navigate through that?
I met people that knew music in the music industry and people that really had no business being there.
Mm.
I had a woman who shall go nameless who tried to explain songwriting to me one day. And she said it was like a fish tank. And she was English, actually. It was like a
Mhm.
fish tank. You've got the lyricist on the bottom, and then you've got the music in the middle, and then the skier goes on. And I'm like sitting there going, I've never heard it described this way. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I sat there going, you've never played an instrument, you've never sang anything, and you're picking material from my record. I don't understand. I don't understand. Um, so I had a very jaded outlook on the record industry and the people that ran it.
Mm.
Um, I really wasn't impressed. Coming from somebody as musical as my father was, going into the business, looking at what music was in
Right.
a corporate situation, I was like, wow, this is crazy. And so if you don't know who you are and you don't know your music, you've got people running your life and your music places
Yeah,
that, you know, you end up doing things you probably aren't going to be successful at because
that is true.
it doesn't work. So you have to stay true to yourself or it won't work.
I agree 100%.
And now I'm older, I can say that, but I feel that way even with performing in live shows. And I've got a show coming up where I'm doing all my classics with class, which I'm so excited about. But that's true to me.
Mhm.
That's in my heart. And so when I have that show, I'm naked up there. I've got my life on display, like my heart, my soul is on display. And
Right.
it's truth and it works because it's real and it's, you know, so, and I like doing the other stuff too. Like we've actually took some of the songs from the Lost album And my
Hmm.
husband, who's a bass player, is working with a producer in Mexico that he's very friendly with, who's amazing. And they're basically reworking the tracks. So we're creating new masters of the Lost album, and I'm
Oh,
releasing
good,
because
good.
it never got released. So they're
What's
a
your
little
favorite track
dated.
off the album?
Um, Probably Whatever It Takes.
I was
And
gonna say that that's
I
actually
love
my
that song.
favorite.
Oh, I love that song. My best friend Sally loves that song too. Um, but there were a couple of songs in the interim after the Lost album that I wrote called A Little Misunderstanding, which I just put
I
out.
like that one.
Isn't that great? And there's
Yes.
another one called Giving It Up for Your Love that I wrote with this band that I worked with, that we're putting that one out. So I'm just gonna start releasing stuff. Because why? It's sitting in my house and people want to hear it, I think.
Why
And
not?
once I release enough and people start getting familiar with me again, doing the music I love,
Right.
then I'm going to start booking shows because I love performing. And I love having my husband be my bass player. So that's great.
How does having a musical marriage, how
Ugh,
does that work?
it's the
Don't you get
best thing
tired of him
ever.
just plucking on that bass and he,
No, it's sexy.
oh, all right,
I
hubby.
I have such a fascination with bass. I love
Two
bass.
bass and drums for me do
Yeah,
it. Oh
bass and drums,
gosh.
but bass is the one for me. And to know that I ended up marrying a bass player who can funk it up, lay it down, and just do it so well. So I'm a happy camper.
Oh my gosh. And with everything that you've gone through, the good, the bad, the indifferent,
Mhm.
what role has music played in your healing?
Oof, major, major healing. When so my first husband died of suicide,
Mm.
and my daughter was 14, and I was taking care of my father who was in his 80s, had a lot on my plate. um, and the anger that I felt for him leaving her, not so much me,
Yeah.
that anger made me get over it very quickly. But of course, watching the pain with my daughter having to deal with it was the harder part.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, my marriage was great up until a certain point. When I was touring, it got tougher, going away, the jealousy, the insecurities, the whatever.
Right.
So I was at a point where the love wasn't there so much anymore. And I met my new husband, which we were friends for 15 years.
Mm.
And we went out for a dinner and he buttered my bread. And I thought, wow,
Oh.
no one's ever done that for me
Oh, you
before.
mean literally?
Yes, he buttered my bread. He did. I know it sounds so crazy. It's a little thing, but it
Yeah,
was a
little things mean a lot.
yeah. And I kind of joked and I said, "Oh, you're such a nice guy. I don't know. I don't like nice guys. It's like the bad boys."
Don't
He's like,
we?
"Yeah." He goes, "You would never like me because I'm too nice." And I'm like, "I would like to try it. I think I would like to try it." And I was very cautious about not starting in on anything too soon, but my daughter kind of, I introduced him as a friend because we were friends. And she
Right.
was the one that kind of paced it. She's the one that said, let's get a place with Carlos. Let's move in with Carlos. Let's just go with Carlos. Can Carlos come over? So it was like a natural thing. And he's such a beautiful, warm human being that, I mean, everybody loves Carlos. And I love Carlos.
And
And
that's all that matters.
that's all that matters. And I've never been loved like the way he loves me. I've never had that feeling. So that created we started to write songs about it,
Right.
about the love. And he wanted me to work through my anger and my pain. And so we wrote songs about that. We have a song called 1111 that is incredible. And it's about losing my husband and coming to terms with that there was something like the rain was going to go away and the sun was coming out. It's a gorgeous song, and it's about 11:11 being present and having angels around you, telling you you're on the correct path. Um, and so there's like this whole project I started with my husband, and we call that the Elorza effect, because that's my new last name, Elorza, and it sounds nice, Elisa Elorza.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like
So he had it quite the effect on me, not just, romantically, but musically.
it.
And and he believes in me. Like, he's the one pushing me to put out my old songs. He's like, people want to hear it. I'm like, no, they don't. Yes, they do. So he's like, go put on Facebook, just write. If I do shows in your area, would you come to my show and see what happens? And he was right. I put it on, and like tons of people were like, come to Ireland, come to this. And I'm like, well, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but okay.
Do you prefer working in the States or Europe?
Europe.
Yeah.
That was easy. Easy question. I love Europe. I would live in Italy or anywhere in Europe. I just love Europe,
Yeah, it's a different vibe.
especially with the state we're in right now. I
Ooh,
I
yeah,
would
let's.
love to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part of your legacy are you most proud of?
My daughter,
Mm,
she's unbelievably smart. She's talented. She sings, acts, dances. She's going to college, yet she still wants to pursue music and do her thing.
mm,
Having her was probably the best thing I ever did. Um, and I think taking care of my father,
mm.
that was
Yeah,
a good.
I know. I I I understand. I totally understand.
Ooh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Oh gosh, you got me feeling like I'm Barbara Walters. Yeah,
Well, I don't even want to watch. Bradley Cooper, I guess, has a documentary about taking care of his father and
mm.
about caretakers, and it's whew.
We can
I
talk
can't-
about that after
Yeah,
this.
I know.
Oh boy.
But yeah, I'm gonna watch that. I'm sure I'm gonna need a whole tissue box.
Yeah, it's until people have been in that situation,
Yes, they don't
they
know.
do not know.
No.
They do not know. And being in a moment of transparency, being a caretaker, former
Hmm.
caretaker
Hmm.
myself, you tend to put yourself way back
Yep.
and try to make sure that everything else is what it should be.
Hmm.
So, I applaud you
Thank you. You
for
too.
doing what needed to be done.
Hmm.
Because
No,
at the end of the day, who's going to do it?
nobody. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's bring it bring this
Okay.
let's
Let's
bring it
grind
up.
it up. Let me get
Bring
a
it up.
drink of
Get
water.
it up. We're gonna do, let's actually, before we do that, what is next for Elisa Fiorillo Alorza? Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah, you did. Well, August 20th, I have my big show. Let me see. Did I bring in a postcard? I did. I think I put it. Yeah, there it is. It's called The Classics with Class. And it's with a guy named Philip Fortenberry, who
Hmm.
was actually the hands in the Michael Douglas movie Beyond the Candelabra about Liberace.
Oh, yes.
And that's us right there. There's the code to get
Nice.
the QR code to get tickets. Uh, it's like it's all the movies I grew up with, all the great singers, Edie Gourmet, Judy Garland, Julie Andrews, Barbara Streisand.
Edie Gourmet doesn't get the
She
recognition
does not get the
that
recognition.
that
I am
everyone else gets.
ending the show with Edie Gourmet medley because
Nice.
that woman, did he need a stronger hand? Oh, just wait, it's good.
Yeah, she does not get the
God,
recognition.
what a singer.
Yeah.
And Ella Fitzgerald, of course. And it's just going to be beautiful. And Philip plays classical, but he plays Broadway as well. But he's
Right.
going to play a Chopin piece to kind of ode to my father, because
Okay.
his playing reminds me so much of my dad. So it's kind of like bringing me back to my roots of where I started singing. And
Right.
that's why the show is so special to me. So it's August 20th, 7 o'clock. Get your tickets, www.thesmithcenter.com. In
Nice.
Vegas. Yeah.
Nice. What we've talked about your legacy.
Mhm.
Um, what would you tell 15-year-old Elisa Fiorillo?
Hmm. Uh, be healthy
Mm,
because for years I was told to lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. And I took it wrong because it was all about image and I thought it was more about that. Now that I'm older, I know that the weight not being on me is making me healthier. And I finally, after years of trying every diet in the whole wide world, I ended up doing a diet called Better Health.
okay.
So my husband did it with me and we're still doing it, but it's like a lifestyle change. It's not a diet anymore. It's just
Yeah.
a lifestyle change. And I never understood that until now. Um, because you can eat what you want, but then you get back on your thing. And I unconsciously ate for many years to fill voids, emotions, and, you
Mm,
know,
yeah.
sadness, whatever it was. And my parents were very much into the taste of things. It was always, oh, that cheese, oh, those olives, oh, da, da. And I put so much emphasis on the taste of food. And believe me, I love food and it's enjoyable and all those things, but I've really had to reprogram my brain to stop loving food as much as I did
Mm,
and stop using it to make me happy because it was such a
right.
double-edged sword. I'd get happy when I ate it and I'd beat myself up after. And that
Okay.
that same pattern, I did that from probably the age of 15 all the way to 50 something.
Yeah.
And I'm done beating myself up and I'm doing the work now. And it's like a lot of people ask, what's the diet? But it's like some people just aren't ready, and they want
That's
to be
true.
ready, but until you're ready, you're not going to do it. So no matter what I say, no matter what I tell you to eat, until you're ready, until you get to the point where I got, I was like, I'm done. I'm ready. I'm doing this. And I did it. And now I know how to maintain my weight now instead of, ballooning up and going back down so I wish I would have known that then because I could have been thinner and happier and healthier for longer,
Yeah, but everything happens in its anointed time. I'm always a believer of that.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything happens in its anointed time.
yeah.
Last question, and then I want to do a rapid fire round with you.
Okay.
Being Minneapolis Sound Radio's Artist of the Month, what does that mean to you?
Oh, well, Minneapolis to me is like my second home.
Hmm.
Lived there on and off for many years. The people there, they're so genuine and so family oriented, and there's just such a community that I felt like at home. I felt
Mm,
like I could just drop everything and move there.
right.
Uh, and the fact that I was a part of the Minneapolis Sound, to have experienced that not once but twice in a lifetime, and to work with Prince both times of my seasons, um, I think I can represent the Minneapolis Sound and the people very well because I've been there, I've lived there, I've done it, I've worked hard, and I'm just appreciative of everything I learned from him and from being in Minnesota.
Well, there you have it.
Mhm.
Okay, let's do this rapid fire round.
Oh boy, I hope my brain menopause does things to you.
Yeah, we really need to talk.
There
Oh
ain't
my,
no rapping. I need some ginkgo.
Ooh, tell me about it. Most
Okay.
underrated vocalist today.
Oh, uh, Leah Salonga,
Oh,
Miss Saigon. unbelievable voice.
Okay.
Check her out.
A voice you'd love to do a duet with, living or gone?
Michael Bublé.
Mm,
Heck yeah. I'd kill it.
I
Come
can
on,
see
Michael.
that. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
Favorite Prince song you perform live?
Sometimes it snows in April.
Oh,
Best song ever.
oh, all right.
Mhm.
Uh, Favorite sandwich?
Mm. A caprese sandwich with tomatoes and basil and mozzarella.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
One word to describe your career.
Um, Undecided. It's all over the place. I do everything, anything and everything. So kind of undecided because it goes one way one day and one way another day. But I love everything I do.
Yeah.
So
A message to your fans who have followed you since the beginning.
wow. Thank you. And I will send you more music, I promise. It's been a while, but I needed that kick in the butt from my husband to say, what are you doing? Get out there and put your stuff back out. So I'm gonna do it.
All right. So before we leave, tell us all your social media handles.
Oh boy, do I even know them? So my
Well, let's
Insta,
say the ones you check frequently.
okay. So Instagram, I believe is, let me check.
Wait, I'm gonna follow you on Instagram as well.
Let's see, how do I find it? Let's see. My daughter would know the answer to these questions. So it says I'm Elisa Fiorillo 1.
But
Because
I see
somebody,
it.
somebody took my name. I don't know who.
You'd be surprised. You would
Yeah,
be surprised.
let's
I just
see.
followed you.
Oh,
See?
good. Okay. And then my Facebook, let me go to the other one because I have two. Log out. Let me put the other one in. And there it is. Elisa. It's the color picture of me, and it's Elisa Fiorillo. Let's see. My profile, search share profile.
Let's see.
Elisa dot J dot Fiorillo. Could that be it? Profile link.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is it
Oh, I was following you all along. Okay, so we're
oh,
good.
okay.
Okay.
And then what else is there? I don't really go on
As far
TikTok.
as I'm concerned, that's enough.
Yeah, I can't stand social media.
Oh my
I
gosh.
cannot
It's
keep
funny.
up.
I talk, social media has changed so much in the last 20 years that
Mhm.
it's overwhelming,
Yes, it is. I
it,
can't keep
especially of a certain age range. It's become very overwhelming.
very
So, I try to limit myself on on all these
on
platforms
all those platforms. I agree.
because you can sit the whole day away. I'm not going to say the word I generally use when I talk about social media, but you can
Mhm.
sit the whole day away and
Yeah,
look up and
and
it's like, oh my
scroll,
gosh, it's
scroll.
dark outside.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy. It's hypnotizing. I
it
don't like.
really is. It
Yeah.
really is. Well, thank you so
Sure.
much
You're
for
welcome.
joining
Thank
me.
you.
I enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. I had a great time.
And thank you all for tuning in to Minneapolis Sound Radio's Artist of the Month podcast. Elisa Fiorillo reminds us that talent doesn't fade, it
Mm.
evolves. Whether on the charts, the stage, behind the scenes, she's still in the game,
Mhm.
and her voice continues to inspire. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next month.
All right.